There's one thing that millennials and Gen Z can both agree on. Gen Z a little too much. It's shitting on Gen Alpha for being illiterate. Let's do that. Because I just saw a video. I got this recommended and it said the American Literacy Crisis Explained. Because my understanding is that like most people cannot, I think over half, cannot read at a 6th grade level, which is tough. And then there's like a good chunk of people, like a fourth, who are functionally illiterate. As in they know like a few key words like exit on an exit sign or like burger on a menu or whatever, but they can't actually read a full, let's say, paragraph and understand the meaning. That's a problem. Like if your goal is to get everyone on the same page with certain ideas, that's a problem.
And our final number is 21.
Okay.
That's Mississippi's ranking in 4th grade literacy as of 2022. In 2013, Mississippi was ranked 49th. They were basically at the bottom of the country's rankings, and now they are well above the middle. And that's because they saw the problem and they actually tried to solve it.
I mean, I like hearing something that breaks my narrative. If you ask me, what does Mississippi rank as in American reading, I would have said 50th or 49th. I would have said that today. So to know that it's like closer to the middle in recent years from some effort or change they've made is cool. It's cool to know. I actually am excited to learn more about it because that changes my understanding. I truly think, man, that it is so that kids' first exposure to reading is always a boring ass book. Do you know what I'm like? I just think if people read Red Rising or I don't know, you know what I'm just or Harry Potter back in the day or whatever, or kids got Pendragon back in the day, or what was the Greek guy? Percy Jackson. Those books ruled. Kids read these books and it's fun. You get a bonus out of it and it improves your ability to comprehend and you're learning passively.
So what we're seeing is a widening gap between those students who are reading quite well and those students who are struggling to read at a basic level. But even those top performing...
But isn't this about what you measure? Because like, okay, if you're measuring your ability to read books, then the bottom half of students are falling behind. But if you measure the ability to understand TikToks, I bet the nerds at the top are falling behind. I bet their TikTok literacy is an all-time low. They don't know the latest memes. They don't know what the jokes are. They don't know what's trending. They're probably behind. Like you might say something and they won't even get it. Doesn't it feel like they need to be focused on as well? Like what if you're culturally dumb? Yeah, like what if they don't know what chopped huzz means? What if you know what Shakespeare is, but you don't know what chopped huzz means? Well, then you're kind of actually behind in the modern day.
At the University of Texas here in Austin, some professors told their school newspaper that they would be shortening reading assignments and transitioning to assigning things like YouTube videos and audiobooks instead of...
Let's go! Let's f***ing go! Get a Marketing Monday into the schools! And I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna get f***ing paid, dude. I just gotta stop cursing. That's the biggest problem. I just gotta stop cursing and make an educational channel and then start selling this shit to schools. My friends are teachers in Virginia and keep telling me teaching methods so now kids memorize words by how they look rather than teaching them how to sound words out. So now kids can, yeah, this is true. This is called whole word reading. We talked about this. I don't know what year they changed it, but it's terrible. It's been a disaster. Many of the young people in this chat grew up with whole word reading and they somehow managed to survive, but it's like just looking at a full word and memorizing it, which is like fucking impossible to get a big vocabulary. Instead of phonics, where you learn all the different little sounds and how to sound it out and break it down so you can find a new word and add it to your ability to pronounce. I think a lot of schools are starting to roll back on it, but we teach kids to just guess the word based on context and then memorize the whole word as an image rather than phonetic constructions. It's a discredited educational method, but it became a major model for education in the US, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. Despite there being no scientific support for the method's effectiveness. It's trash and it has truly done a disservice to a lot of kids. Like if you were taught this way growing up, good for you for getting out of it, because it is like designed to make it very difficult for you to grow your knowledge in any way, or like it makes it uncomfortable to encounter anything new. You know what would be fucking dope to turn this around? The novelization of Subway Surfers. Tell the stories people want to hear. When I was a kid, I watched Star Wars Episode 1, and I loved it so much that I got the book, the Star Wars Episode 1 novelization, where it just wrote down the things I had just watched in the movie. And I loved that book. That book was fire. I assume a Subway Surfers clip would also make a great book.
And in this book, he points out that reading is actually a fairly demanding task. First, you have to be able to understand the words on the page, and that's usually what we mean when we say that we're teaching kids to read.
Not for LeBron.
Actually, reading involves 3 additional levels of representation. You need to be able to extract ideas from sentences. You need to be able to then connect the idea across those sentences, and then you integrate this within a model in your mind that answers the question of what the text is about. And Willingham notes that many readers fail at the second level. And really that contributes to what we called functional illiteracy before. That's that illiteracy that makes it difficult for you to navigate your day-to-day life. Being able to connect ideas is actually a skill.
It's interesting because I think the whole point of it existing is that it doesn't make it difficult anymore, is that people don't need it. It doesn't impact their day-to-day life at all.
But there was another barrier that my students faced, which is that they lacked a lot of background knowledge, which helped them make sense of a text. Let's say you want to read a really big book like War and Peace. Well, War and Peace is a historical novel. It is set in a particular time and place. You don't need to know all of the historical details in order to make sense of War and Peace. But having some idea of European history and maybe France's connection to Russia, knowing who people like Napoleon or Louis XVI are, these are things that would be useful for you as you're reading. It would make reading War and Peace a less demanding task.
It's kind of fun. It's like watching Oppenheimer without knowing who Einstein is. So when they have the big reveal of him, it doesn't mean anything. It's just another random ass character. You know, it's just, if you don't have cultural context, or it's, you know, watching Passion of the Christ without knowing who Jesus Christ was, just thinking it's a character. It's like watching Star Wars without knowing who Glub Shido is. He ties the whole narrative together.
You should teach students how to think rather than what to think. And there's some truth to that, but I think there's a crucial error that's being made there, which is that actually learning about the world and learning facts about the world goes hand in hand with learning how to think critically, because it allows you to build a mental model of the world, and you can see where new facts might fit in or where they actually contradict things that you should already know. Critical thinking and memorization might actually go hand in hand, and they help us to produce better readers.
I don't give a shit. People should memorize more. People should do times tables. People practice, and the basics are, they can learn the rest on their own. They can find something they're interested in. Give them the basics, dude. Drill the tools, the meat and potatoes. Yeah, exactly. I fucking agree. I think that shit works.
One researcher from Harvard University described American reading education as a very stable level of mediocrity. We've never done a great job, and things have been getting a little bit worse, but this isn't new, and it's certainly not unprecedented.
Until COVID.
And there is a lot of fear-mongering about this. Let me tell you about the National Literacy Institute. If you've seen those headlines I mentioned about American literacy, there's a chance that you've seen statistics from this website. For instance, you might have heard that 21% of American adults are illiterate. But actually look at the website, and I'll put a link down below as well. There's no explanation for that number, about 21% of American adults being illiterate.
It must be true.
No definition is also given of what they mean by illiterate. And the numbers you find on this website are painting a much worse picture than the numbers that you find elsewhere.
Kids these days don't even know that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame, dude. The mitochondria is working its ass off in your cell. It is the powerhouse, dude. It is the Jokic on the Nuggets, if that makes any sense. It is pushing that shit to game 7 versus a much better team. It's just wild that we don't know about that. Dude, people talk about vibe coding. It would be awesome to have vibe reading. Everyone in the class has the assigned reading, and they pull it out, and then you just say whatever you want. You know, you're reading like The Great Gatsby or whatever, and some kid reads his part of the story, made it up. Then it goes to you, and you just take his story wherever you... It's almost like improv. Yes, and reading, you made it up. And then at the end of the day, you have a new book. Great Gatsby, more like Great Yatsby. You'd kill in class. If you dropped that joke in class, you would fucking slay. Dude, everyone would bust out laughing.
We can solve this problem, and it actually only cost Mississippi $15 million. That sounds like a really big number, but the state's budget is $7.6 billion, so we are talking about fractions here. This doesn't solve every problem. There are still adults in the United States who are functionally illiterate. There are plenty of adults who can read but simply choose not to, and we still need to figure out what to do about college students who can't keep up with assigned reading anymore. But Mississippi's success shows that the literacy crisis can be mitigated. We can help more people learn to read if we're smart about it. Before we go, let me ask you one question. Are you looking for a way to learn more and to stop?
Nope. No, I'm not. Maxed out the old brain. Everything I need is all up here.